All right. Looks like we are good to go. Everything's up and running. Welcome to this webinar on future-proofing your staffing agency. In this webinar, we will dive into the topic of how you should future-proof your agency in the age of AI. I'm Helge, a data scientist with a passion for AI and how it can be used to transform staffing. And I'm also heading up Globus AI, which is an AI-powered platform for staffing agencies. And I'm super excited to have Anita back from Randstad with me to share her experience in implementing AI solutions in Randstad. And Anita, how did you end up in the position as IT manager in Randstad?
Yeah, who knows? Well, I've been in Randstad for almost 11 years and built myself up internally in the company. So I have been in different roles, but I love systems and I love how people can work in them. That's more day-to-day business. So my responsibility was the systems in Randstad, thereby also Globus AI and other systems. And then it became IT manager and information security officer. So it's a big role.
Yes, and you've seen it over a long time in Randstad, so you're definitely the right person to share some experience with us. And if we look at the agenda, we'll start by honing in on just a little bit what AI in staffing actually is. Then we'll move on to some trends and predictions. And finally, we'll wrap up with 5 things you should do in your agency when you start out with AI. And if time allows, we'll also answer some questions. We'll try to keep the presenting part to 20 minutes and then do some questions in the end. So feel free to add questions in the chat during the webinar. And most of the information that we present today is taken from the 2024 Talent Trend Report that was recently released from Randstad. I think end of March, so it's hot off the press, right, Anita?
Yes.
Yes. So one thing we know is that AI leaders, which was early on with adopting AI in staffing, are already getting ahead of their competition. The AI space is moving very rapidly, and some actually think it's also moving so fast that they're not able to keep up. As much as 56% answer that in a survey done by McKinsey. And McKinsey defines AI high performers as companies that's attributing more than 20% of their earnings before interest and tax to AI usage. And that's quite a lot. But what's funny about it is that when you look at these organizations, their initial success seems to have fueled also further rollouts. So they're using it in more business functions than other organizations. And the AI high performers actually outperformed the competitors for as many as 8 consecutive quarters after the initial investment. So that's quite a long period. So right now, companies investing in AI is getting a real head start on their competition. And as it's pointed out in the report from Randstad, AI can be used to remove a ton of laborious and manual tasks that traditionally slow down recruiters. And this allows them to focus on areas where we really need humans, which is, of course, relationship building, strategy, and the creative tasks. Have you seen this working with AI in Randstad as well, Anita?
Yeah, I have. And it's for the first difficult to know where to use AI and have the overview of the whole process internally. But yeah, definitely, I've seen saving time in the for the recruiters as well. Yeah.
And I guess more motivating to focus on the relationship building tasks than punching data into systems.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it is. It's more fun to meet people than working in systems. So
yeah. So when we look at use cases in staffing, AI can analyze enormous data sets. They can take into consideration pay, attrition, engagement, performance, gender, age, skill sets, and infinitely faster analyze all of this than people can. That's what computers are good at. And more importantly, it can automate the process and prompt actions that will actually improve outcomes. So generative AI is especially useful when dealing with large amounts of text data, which we can find in many areas in the staffing industry. So the use cases are actually many. We have some examples on the left side here. And it can be used, of course, to write job description or candidate campaigns. Not only is it faster, but it also allows you to ensure that communication is professional and on brand. Reading CVs we've had for a while. We can also read job requests coming in, do scheduling, or find the right candidates. And the main benefits are, or at least some of the benefits that are reported by companies, are listed on the right side, which include, of course, things like automation, freeing up time to focus on more strategic projects, or identifying people with the right skills. But another interesting thing, I think, is the top one, which is that they see large efficiency gains by having standard and consistent processes of working, which is something that I know from working with companies here is often overlooked as a benefit. Is that something you agree with, Anita?
Yeah, I agree. And with the standard processes, then we know everyone is doing the same. Now we don't know if they are actually following the processes and if they actually are saving time or not, and how fast people are working is not, we can't measure that. And I think we started with the CV parsing in our systems. That's been there for quite a time. And when we saw AI came on board, then job description was the first thing that we saw that we can save time. So I think that was the first thing everyone in the company was using to write the job description for a different way than we have done before, and not just copying something that we have done. Yeah.
Yeah, quite a obvious use case. Yeah, saves a lot of time.
But now everyone is doing that, so we have to do something different to separate ourselves from the others. So
always the case of trying to be ahead, right?
Yeah.
But I'm very curious to learn more about what you guys are doing to leverage AI. So I'll jump to the next slide and let you talk a bit about that.
I think that the most challenging thing when AI came to the market was that everyone wants to use it, but they don't actually know how. So as employees, the private, they used it all the time, like ChatGPT. And then they started using ChatGPT at work. And then we had to find some guidelines. What are okay to use ChatGPT for, or other solutions? So the first thing we needed to do was to tell everyone to hold on, stop, not use the ChatGPT or others in the beginning. And that's quite hard because we have people that are driven forward to always take the new technology. And then we suddenly say, stop, you can't use it. And then people feels like they are falling back at the Randstad's company for other customers. So the first thing was to define the scope for deployment. So how are we using it? In what of the steps in the process are we using it? And can we use it because of the data security? And what will happen if we use it in every process? Will the contact with the person disappear? Will we, of course, increase the efficiency and the time we are using on each candidate? But is that a good thing or a bad thing? So it was a lot of questions that were showing up. So we found that you have to define the scope of development, establish clear goals and metrics for success. What will be the success of using this in this way? And then continually update strategies. So in Randstad, we have a global team, a project team that's working with AI. So they are the AI support for all the Randstad companies, and they are tweaking this to match all the companies. They are creating guidelines for how to use it. They are creating cases in which way you can use everything. But the priority is people first, and then human oversight, so you can have a look over everything that you do, and then the two other bullet points there. So it's a huge thing, and I think it's difficult to choose the the type we are using, but we are going to Google Gemini, and that's a company decision because they have to look at how to protect our data. Because we can protect our data, but we don't know if our customers are protecting the data that we give them. So we have to be very clear of what data to give to the customer, and also what data to use in the AI function. So it's a huge thing, and I don't think we are the only companies that's struggling with this. I think there's a lot of companies struggling with just the same thing. And we are big, so we can use people for this, but small companies may not have the same possibilities as we are. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was a perspective I hadn't considered before when you mentioned the customers and how they're using your data that you send to them. Because one problem I've heard before is recruiters just using available tools for private use, like meant for private use, but using it in the business. But then again, you also have the customer perspective, like sending them information and they put it into an AI that you haven't approved. So it's easier to control your vendors than your customers in that
it is.
manner.
Yeah, and I think it's me personally, I think it's good that Randstad has taken a step back, not throwing themselves out on every trend connected to AI. I think it's important and it's coming there to stay, but then we have to think of the candidate and the customers and the data that we provide everywhere and the data that we store internally as well. So yeah, maybe we are a bit slow out in the market as a company, but I think we will get there stronger.
And I like these 4 pillars that you have, like the general guidelines for AI usage and how we work. I mean, on a high level, it's quite standard project management, and it has everything gone on rails after just using these principles, or have you experienced some challenges also with implementing AI?
I think there are some challenges as well, because we can't look over every things that published or every ad or everything that people are doing. And I think maybe the most challenging is to train the people to make them be aware of all the things that they have to overview and be aware of, because they want to use it as much as they can, just to ask them the questions that they need to hear. Is this actually the way you're using it, or why are you using this in that way? So maybe get some user cases internally to see how are they actually using it, and then we can check off and take away all the things that they are not supposed to do.
And how about the things that you want them to use? Has there been any pushback on actually using the tools you want them to use, change management?
Yeah, we are having an ATS system for all the candidates and the workflow there, and we also use Globus AI. And the challenging thing is when they come and say that they need all the tools, like in AI tools, and then we implement them, and then they say, oh, this is too hard for me to know, this is too hard for me to use, or I didn't expect that result, or just to put away the way they are working from before, the old way of working to the new way of working. That has taken almost a year. So to change the way they are thinking, it's actually quite hard. I know they want to, but actually to do it, it's not easy. It takes time.
Yeah, I mean, the GPT wave really came into play, starting from 2023. So you're still quick out the doors, but yeah, it takes time, I guess, to convince people.
It takes time.
And change. And I think we need to move on. Time is really flying, but this is an interesting discussion. I included a quote from Colleen Rush, which says, AI will transform every single position in the company. I don't think it will be overnight, but the real story here is it will change the way everyone works. And I think that's a good quote to lead us into, the predictions. And from the Randstad Talent Report, there are a few predictions. The whole report is kind of headlined as the age of human and artificial intelligence together. And the first one is AI redefines how work gets done. where one of the things they highlight is that 30% of work hours will be automated by 2030. Do you think that will be the case also for staffing, Anita?
I think it depends on the role that they have, but absolutely, because everything that we are sitting and typing down will be automatically. So like interview notes, we don't have to write them anymore. They will be a speech and they will be written down for itself. Like the first step in the recruitment process, I don't think we have anything to do that in the future. That's the system, and AI will take care of like sorting out which one is the best for the role. So absolutely, I'm not sure about 30%, but it will be quite interesting to see how much it will change. But it will also be positive because then we can use the time on the persons. So in the dialogue with customers and candidates, then we can use more time there, because now we see that the administrative takes a lot of time to do. So it will be the other way around. And that's good, I think.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What will we use the 30% time on? But yeah, that sounds like a positive case for it. If we look at the next one, AI will unlock human potential. You know, it's a lot of things happening. We all know that. But what does this mean for you?
As a IT manager and like information security, I have no background from that except from my experience in the company. So I think that AI maybe can help me to be better at the things I should focus on, and maybe give me the competence or the experience that I need to be in this role. And I think that's a lot for the other roles as well. So maybe you don't need a bachelor in economics to be working as a salesperson, because you have help from the AI to do all the numbering. So yeah, I think it will unlock human potential, and maybe we will see some types of candidates that we wouldn't hire before, but then we might hire them now because they have the ability to change and they are curious on new technology. So maybe that will get the position for them more easily now than before.
Yeah, I think skills-based hiring will be a lot more important in the future.
Yeah, it will.
And the last two ones is, of course, talent management. With AI, it will allow you to have a much more personalized candidate experience, and adoption of AI is accelerating faster than we expected, both the innovation and the adoption, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
And I think that the last there is it's quite difficult, because the ability to adopt or to learn new technology comes with a different age. So we will need to change as fast as AI, but I'm not sure if everybody can do that. So we have to make space and room and position for everyone, either if they can adapt to it or not. So I think that will be also important to think about in the companies, especially as big as our company, to find new positions for people that can't adapt to it.
Yeah, have internal learning and repositioning. What is Randstad doing to future-proof themselves? I know here we pulled out, the tech investments that will be most transformational. What's your take on this? Randstad's focus?
Yeah, we are focusing on the system that we are working in, is how to optimize the process. What do we need to do for ourselves, or what can the system help us with? So the system and the tools that we are choosing we are investigating in a lot of them, and we are actually building our own ATS system just to match what we want to do and what we want to do in the future. And we are looking for chatbots, because in IT, for example, maybe they don't need me telling them how to turn on the computer. Maybe they can ask the chatbot instead. Or at the HR chatbot, all the questions regarding rules and stuff for sickness and things like that, maybe they can just ask the chatbot. And the same legal. The legal AI can help our employees to say the right thing to the candidates, for example, or the customers. and also like have a look over all the employees, like see how the competencies and if we need to move people in the roles. For example, me, am I mostly or best used in another role than I am today, or can I just stay here where I am? So just to look over the skills for every employees.
Yeah, that's something that's been hard to do for a long time, and now is possible in a very different way with GPT.
Yeah, it is.
For sure. And then we've been looking into the crystal ball a little bit. So looking at the long-term prediction, we started out like, where will we be in 5 years? We scratched that because 5 years ahead nowadays is quite a long time. So, okay, will it be 3 years? Will it be 5 years? Who knows? But at least we made this bold statement that staffing agencies in their current form will be obsolete. And 3 major trends that we're seeing is self-service marketplaces. So there will be a lot more self-service. Candidates are expecting it, customers are expecting it, and the technology will allow it. But recruiters will still be a third party and offer a premium service, which we're already seeing happening with a lot of the platforms. So staffing agencies are providing this service, and I think staffing agencies will be a lot more tech companies than just staffing companies like they are today.
Yeah,
do you agree with this, Anita?
Yeah, I do. And I can see that more and more customers, they ask for like a candidate pool to help themselves to put candidates in jobs, for example, or shifts. So I can see that the point one there is actually already coming fast. So they have to be prepared to that one.
Yeah. And democratized job opportunities, of course, means that there will be lower barriers to entry. Technology will be cheaper, so even more competitive than what it is today. So, but of course, having good systems in place and infrastructure, and of course, attract the right recruiters and candidates will be essential.
Yeah.
And then the last one, recruiters will be replaced by AI. But by recruiters actually using AI. So the role of the recruiter will change. So I think there will be 2 kinds of recruiters, the more technical one being responsible for the systems, and then the trusted advisor, which will do much more of the personal interaction and follow-up. What's your thoughts on that, Anita?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that will be a good thing in somehow, because then, as I said, we can focus on the human and the people and the customers and dialogue, because if the customers become more responsible for finding candidates in the same system, they also need help, because even if the customer wants to have the self-service, they don't know how. So it's important for us to stay there and be answering questions and do training for the customers, and maybe it will be more of that than how to find the right candidate in the candidate pool in Randstad, for example. So maybe more coaching.
Definitely an important time for recruiters to keep up with technology. And we mentioned the prescriptive capabilities, and what's meant by that is now going from predictive, which you're getting to, like forecasting more and more what will happen. Prescriptive means, like when you go to the doctor, you get a prescription, tells you what exactly to do. So AI will give you more of the prescriptive or the recipes, what you should do at what time. So that will also simplify things for recruiters.
Yeah.
And then implementing AI, the next one. So of course, the strategic choices you make today will definitely have a lasting impact on the organizations. And let's dive into a few of the tips and tricks that you've built up over when working with this, Anita.
Yeah, well, the first thing, as I said, the employees or the internal employees, they all want to have AI systems or something to help them. But when they actually is in the system, then they don't know how to use it. So the important thing was to set the AI guidelines for how the company or all the employees are working. have someone like an appointment, an AI leader or a team, someone that will go in front and just get the company forward and teach everyone else. Let them go ahead and try different systems and see what's working and what can be adapted to the company's process. And it's prioritize the transparency and gradual introduction. It's like have a look of the way of working and let it be open and let people also come with their point of view of how working and see how everything works together. And then an AI roadmap is important. And I know that everyone is saying that, but it's important for the employees as well, because then they can see what's coming and in what step are we doing like the AI. So have a clear roadmap for some years, maybe not 5, but 2 years, maybe 3. And a pilot AI. Have the team try some of the functions before everyone else. Like we did in Globus or others, we have a team that are using it and look over how to use it and come with their point of view before we are training everyone else. I think that's a good thing to say. And then you have someone like going and stepping ahead all the time and trying it out. So
yeah, I think that's that worked quite well. Of course, AI leader can mean on a high level, but also we have the super users, which are appointed as well to take a bit charge in the rollout. And I think it's a good idea to have these the pilots and gradual rollouts, because you get the success stories and can really use that to create enthusiasm in the organization. But I was wondering about the guidelines. It always sounds a bit boring. Is it a 50-page document, or is it the 4 bullet points we saw earlier? How does it
we
look
have like 2 different ones. We have like as a one pager for do's and don'ts, and it's easy. It's something that everyone can think about, but it's something to just have and read over again, because we seems to forget stuff that's easy. So it's just a one pager for do's and don'ts, and it basically say that everything you do, look it over before you publish something, and don't use personal data. That's the 2 most important thing. So I think it's important to have a short one, and then you can also have a long one for the people that's more interesting in every function. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, sounds very sensible.
And if you use AI, then I'm sure they can tell you how the guideline will be.
Yeah. So this is one of the questions that actually has come in, but it fits well with this. But what's Randstad's biggest lesson having deployed AI across different processes?
Let's see. Take the question again.
Well, what's Randstad's biggest lesson learned in having deployed AI? So I guess these are some of the things that you would recommend doing, but are there other things, or how would you summarize that? The biggest lesson learned?
I think have a sit down to look at the process and find out which step do you want to save time. You can't do them all. So what step is it important to save time to actually meet the market and stuff like that? And the second one is use the time you need, because we see that even implementing the tools for a year ago, then we have used a year to actually get where we want to do the systems. So it takes time, and take a step at a time, one step. So it's and what people say that they want, they don't always want. They just seems it sounds good and great, and it's good to throw on a trend like AI, but when they actually are sitting down and using the tools, they're not actually what they asked for. So be sure what they are asking for.
Yeah, identify the problem properly to begin with.
Yeah.
It's an important one. I think we are spot on time. I'd like to leave you with just a few reports that could be interesting to look into. One is, of course, Randstad's Talent Trench report, where a lot of the information is taken from, but it has even more information in the PDF itself. And you can download it from Randstad's webpage. Just search for this and you'll find it. There's the Future Work Trends report from Gartner. Gartner's always a good source. Digital Transformation from BCG, Future Work Report from WEF, and the State of AI in 2023 from McKinsey. So if you want to learn some more about this, go look at these reports for sure. And with that, thank you a lot for joining the webinar, Anita. It was super cool to hear about your experiences with AI and staffing.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for all the listeners for joining in. We are on time now, but I'll do one or two questions, which will go over time. But anyone who's fine with that can stay on. So one of the things that came in is how do you go about verifying AI vendors' validity? So everyone's talking about AI and claiming they have AI, and yeah, I guess it's difficult to figure out when you do the vendor selection.
Yeah, it is. And I think maybe that's also one of the experience we did in the last year is to know what questions to ask to the vendors. So when they call and say, hey, we have the coolest AI tool, we think that you will need this one. And then I have the questions to ask. But that's something you have to learn or look up to or agree on internally in the company before you are taking on some tools. But it's not. I have been to a lot of introductions, so you can take them all and then you can decide later.
Yeah. And how do you manage 4 pillars of AI and creativity versus control? It's another question from Kalpesh. So that's a challenging one.
Yeah, and I think that's it's difficult because you want to keep the creativity and you also want to have the control. And I think that's something we still work on, how to manage that one in the workday. So it's learning bit by bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's look at this one. How important is bias when doing vendor selection? I mean, that can mean a lot of different things, but yeah.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, I think that's a difficult questions. Do you have any tips?
I think maybe for a bias, what is asked here is probably biases within the AI. Yeah. So selection and so on. And I know with Globus, how we solved it is having humans in the loop, doing the final kind of selection. So, and then we avoid any attributes like age, gender, anything that could create biases, at least that we know of.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're focusing on that when selecting other tools.
Well, we haven't selected the biggest one yet that we will be working on in the future. But of course, it's really important, and I think I think it's important, and I think it's a huge question, and I think it's difficult to answer.
Yeah, diversity and inclusion will definitely be coming up as a big topic. I think it's been more on the agenda in the UK and the US, and probably make its way to the Nordics much more.
Yeah.
Do you require a bias audit?
And what do you mean by bias audit?
I think it's the AI. If you're using it, you make sure or audit it that it doesn't have biases in it.
Yeah, I think we do. but yeah,
more on a global Randstad
it's the
level, I
global
guess.
working. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
big questions and cases in global working with that in this team, just to see how to use it and how to, how to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And Helge, how does your private LLM offering support Anita's pillars for clients? I'm not sure I exactly understand the the question, but I think we support pillars for clients. Yeah, I don't know, Anita, how you interpret that.
No, I'm not sure.
But we've definitely, like, if we take one of the pillars that you have, which was mentioned, which was explainability, that's definitely been one of our focus areas, because having a black box that just presents recommended candidates, we found that did not work. So we need to be very clear on why candidates are recommended, what are the different variables that have been used, what's the percentage match on different things, so that recruiters can actually see it and make a decision.
Yeah, and that's
so I think that's
because we don't even know what we are looking for or what the percentage is. So it's tweaking all the time.
Yeah, and we often hear recruiters saying, "Oh, it doesn't show the candidates I expected," and then we look into the ATS system and, like, this candidate card is empty. Like, the AI doesn't have a chance to figure that out. So we've been working a lot on data as well, to make sure it's updated and that you have the necessary information in there, because that's an important part of it as well.
Yeah, and I think the big job was working on the data, to see and verify it, to just see, have we the right data, have we chosen the right data, and does it work as we thought it would, or does it give us the new candidates that we haven't been thinking of? And that's what we want. So it's
let's see. I have one more question. I don't know if you can answer it, but in the AI Act, it requires you to do an audit when working with high-risk AI usage. I'm just interested to understand if companies require it.
If the companies that we are working with, or us as a company?
Yes, I don't know if you defined anything as high-risk AI usage, because usually that's dealing with things that have a big impact, like giving you a credit score to get a loan, or in the finance sector, or dealing with certain kinds of personal data. I know we've eliminated all of that kind of personal data working with candidates, and we're not doing any autonomous decisions for the candidates. But maybe you're doing high-risk AI usage in other areas.
Am I? Yeah, I think it's I think, yeah, in that interesting to understand if company requires it. Yeah, I can't answer that one either. I think in Randstad there's a lot of things that I'm not into right now, but as we have this team working with everything to help us, for just like I'm not supposed to use so much time on that one, as well as the global team are looking over everything, and then can do the guideline for us and can set the rules and choose the systems and the AI tools that we are working with. So they are handling all the difficult things and all the stuff that also is different from country to country. So it's so they are mapping this out right now, and we are starting to use like the AI tool in just a few months.
Yeah, and the AI Act, as far as I know, hadn't been enforced yet. But once I'm sure you have a team working on like what that entails for Randstad, and we'll kind of update the AI guidelines that you use based on that. Yeah, makes sense. All right, we don't have any more questions, so thank you everyone for attending, and thank you again, Anita, for joining and giving us your insights. It was very nice talking to you.
You too.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just need to figure out how to end the recording.